All right, TLDR version. Can you do character voice acting without actually doing characters and just acting? Yes, but it's tricky. There. For the rest of you, don't go anywhere. Alrighty, hey guys, welcome back to some more Voiceover Day vlogs. I'm actually feeling really good because I hadn't done these in a while. And for those of you who didn't watch the previous video, the reason my studio and setup is a little bit different and I'm not using my Sennheiser MKH416, there it is. It always just looks like a, well, I'm not going to say what it looks like. But yeah, I'm using a Samson CO2, I think that is, pencil condenser microphone right now, just because that was what was in the studio in the setup earlier, because I rented out my studio to someone who was doing ASMR, and that's how we set it up perfectly for them. And I was just gonna like, hey, why even bother putting everything back? Let's just record videos and get this done, because I have a busy day ahead of me. But anyway, so first off, I'd like to say that anytime I talk about something that someone has approached me for coaching, I want to say this up front, because this has happened a couple times. I'm not pointing out anything specifically that anyone has specifically said. In fact, most of the time, I'm not even talking about one person. I normally don't do videos on topics of things that people have approached me on emails unless it's been more than 5 people that have asked basically the same question. Because when it gets to when it gets to a couple people, then I'm like, well, obviously there are some concerns out there, and there are obviously some people that need help with this particular issue or have this specific question, and maybe I can get ahead of the game by posting a video that will, kind of help alleviate that question. So if any of you who've emailed me think that I'm talking about you, not specifically, not particularly. Also, just because I'm talking about something doesn't mean that this is something that's bothered me, nor does it mean that it's something that's really like a problem. It's not bad that the question has been asked. It's actually good that the question's been asked. Because sometimes I don't know, again, how big the issue is and how much I need to address it in these videos until it's been approached, to me in email or comment multiple times. So, having gotten that out of the way, there's been a couple of people that have come to me wanting help with demos, or wanting help with coaching, and wanting help getting into voiceover. Some people who don't have any setups, any studios, nothing, and they want to, get into character voice acting, but they don't do any character voices. And normally this would kind of be an issue, because character voice acting very specifically means character voices. There's other kinds of, there's tons of different kinds of voice acting that isn't just narration, telephony, phone messaging, that isn't just radio commercials and stuff like that. There are tons of ways that you can do more character-based voice acting without doing character voices. But normally when people think character voices or character voice acting, they think character voices. I hope that wasn't too confusing. But there are ways of getting into doing more like animation and cartoon and stuff like that without really actually changing your voice. For example, a lot of people who do anime don't really change their voice all too much. They might, bring up their pitch slightly or bring it down, or, it's kind of mostly just, the way they talk, their cadence, not necessarily changing the accent. But if you look at a lot of voice actors in the anime world, that's more or less most of their career. That's most of their resume, is just doing voices with essentially the same voice. So it's not impossible. However, getting into professional anime is very tricky. It's a very serious and niche field. You seriously have to have representation, an agent, a manager, and you have to have a really good demo, and you have to have tons of other work. You have to be SAG. It's very, very professional. It's an industry that I've been in and out and kind of struggling with, really getting a foothold in. So I don't have too much experience to really give to people on that. but needless to say, it's very, very specific. As far as cartoon and character in video game, my voice cracked for a second. That's something that there's a lot of opportunity to do online. There's a lot of opportunity for people, to offer that kind of service on YouTube and for app games and just games that are being sold on Steam. There's no real SAG barrier. There's no SAG brick wall. There's no Screen Actors Guild pushing people from doing that kind of stuff. You can do stuff on YouTube, no problem. You can do stuff on video games and app games and stuff like that, no problem. But those are probably going to not really require, but it's going to be better for you if you can do character voices. Now, I'm well known for doing a variety of voices, for doing a lot of characters. A lot of clients come to me because I can do about 20 of their characters that they're needing, and so I'm like a one-stop shop for a lot of people. I'm a utility. There's a lot of voice actors that are known as utilities in the character and animation world. And what that means is if you've watched South Park or you've watched Simpsons, a lot of the times there's a lot of background characters or there's a lot of smaller characters or characters with smaller roles that are really taken up by a very small handful of people, normally like 2 men, 2 women. And they can do a lot of voices, or they either sound so mundane that they can fit in any crowd, or they can do a lot of voices and they can be tweaked and, molded to whatever they need to be fitted in. And those are normally utilities. Those are the people that the studios will utilize to fill small roles. They don't want to post some big audition. They don't want to post some, big heads up. They don't want to hire new people. They just want someone that they can have on call, on the books, that they can give most of these roles. And if there's a role that they can't do, then, maybe one of the more name actors or the higher role characters, maybe one of them can pick it up. Or if not, then they will outsource it to someone else. But there's normally at least 1 or 2 utility people on call that's in the studio, books, that's, well known, has a great relationship with the creator, writer, director, whatever. And they're normally brought in to fill a lot of these roles. That's mostly what I do. That's what I do for Cartoon Hooligans. I think I do like 20 or 30 characters for them. And every now and then, like once a month, they throw me some voice that I've never done before. And I'm like, sure, I'll try it. And then, they're like, they like it. And then there's other like kids cartoons that I do. There's like one studio that I do like 30 characters for, which after I'm done here, I have to record, 4 characters for that. But that's a lot of the stuff that I do. And when it comes to getting into character voice acting, showing at least some level of versatility is going to help you, is going to absolutely help you. It's going to, number one, show the director and the producer and the people creating the game or the show that if you're close to what they want, but they want to tweak it just slightly in one direction or the other, that you will have the ability to, you have the strength and the talent in your vocal cords to be able to get closer to what they're looking for, whether it's accent, noise, pitch, rhythm, whatever. They like people that they can tweak just slightly to get closer to what they want, because they're very visual, they're very vision-oriented people. And they don't want anyone who they have to hire and then they're right here, this is where they need to be, and they can't move. It's something that really kind of puts a lot of directors off. And there's been tons of times when I myself have hosted auditions, and I get a lot of people who are really, really good, clean audio and all this kind of stuff, that will post, they'll do the audition. They're really, really good, but they're not quite what I was looking for. And there's other people that maybe the audio quality wasn't perfect, or maybe there was something about it that, I knew I could work with them to tweak. Maybe they didn't quite deliver the performance that I needed. But I went and I looked at both of these people's demos, and I saw that the one that it wasn't quite perfect, they had a lot of range. They had tons of range. So I knew that I could probably, with a lot of, directing, could probably get that out of them. However, the other one, who had really good quality and was really close, they showed no range. And it comes down to a point of, well, who do I hire? Do I hire the one that, there's no guarantee that I'll be able to pull, more of what I want out of that performance? Or do I go with the person that I'm pretty sure I could work with slightly off audio that maybe we can talk about and I can help them set up a studio? Because, I mean, it's one of the things I do. I help people put up studios, and I've done that a lot with a lot of the people that I work with or that I hire. I will help them perfect their studio. Some of them, they're like, I like this microphone, it makes me sound good. And I'm like, yeah, but it's got kind of this low bassiness and it's a little too much. Do you have any other microphones? And they have another one. I'm like, oh, use someone. I'm like, oh, it's perfect. That kind of stuff. I do that a lot. And I'm not the only one. I've talked to a lot of other directors, producers, and stuff like that. And that's also the kind of thing that they do. That's also the kind of thing that they, look for, and that's also the kind of things that they hire for. Now, again, does this mean that you can't get into character voice actor? No. But it doesn't mean you can do character work. There's a difference. Your goal is going to be more or less doing voice acting. Very general, bland in many ways, voice acting, maybe leaning more into anime, which is more performance and less on character voices. But what I would probably say is when you do your demo, if you have no other accents, no other character voices, you're going to want to label it more animation rather than character voices or cartoon voices or video game voices. You're going to want to label it more animation or anime. There's a specific kind of read and cadence for doing anime demos. Now it's kind of tricky. You'll have to do a lot of research on that one. I'm not even sure I fully understand it, but that might be a little bit more of the avenue you might want to go down. If you have no range, if you have no real flexibility in your ability to change your voice, which is really, really weird because everyone changes their voice. Everyone has the ability to change their voice. There's no one outside of, and I don't mean this in any disrespect, it's just the only name that came to my mind, Stephen Hawking's. No one outside of Stephen Hawking's, has no ability to change their voice. Some people are really, really nervous and don't feel confident in their ability to do stuff like that, and I totally get that. That makes a lot of sense. Totally fine. But here's one thing that I will have to ask literally everyone out there and anyone who's emailed me about this. Again, not a problem. It's just going to make your life a little bit tricky, a little bit complicated. You're going to have to focus on a little bit more of a niche area because most of the gigs and jobs that are going to be available to you are going to be ones that have the expectation of you doing character voices. But you're going to want to focus on animation, labeling it as animation. Basically, this is kind of the blandest of character voice acting label. It's a little bit more of a smooth, bland, it's essentially you're still portraying a character, but there isn't as high energy and there isn't as high expectation and it's not as goofy, it's not as silly. A lot of animation voiceover demos are for things like whiteboard animations, explainer videos where they have an animated person, or you could even put in, you could include into it doing things that are a little bit more like video game or a little bit more like acting. But again, it's going to be very, very tricky. The thing that I would ask all of y'all to do, for anyone who doesn't really have a lot of range, is number one, improv classes. Take improv classes. Absolutely mandatory. Absolutely mandatory. You're going to want an acting coach for sure. If you get a voice acting coach and your goal is to do acting, not character voice acting, go with an acting coach. Don't go to the voiceover coach. You're going to want to focus hard on that. You're going to want to focus very hard on just the acting area. You may get some work doing things like radio dramas. You could do that. They're not too popular in the United States, a little bit more popular overseas, but that is still a possibility. That's an area where you don't really have to change your voice all too much. You'll be cast based on your, accurate portrayal. Can you deliver that character's voice? Can you portray that character rather than can you do that character's voice? So that's an area. Your demo is going to be a little bit trickier. It's going to be harder to find work on things like castingcall.club. Fiverr. Fiverr is going to be a little bit more tricky because on Fiverr, you're going to want a demo that's going to stand out. And if you just sound like a regular person, it's going to be much, much harder. Again, not impossible. This is always going to be something that you're going to have to work at, but it's going to make it a little bit more tricky. So can you do it? Yes. But it's going to be very, very difficult. And I would definitely encourage improv, flex your skills, flex your acting ability, flex your ability to, embody different characters. Go with an acting coach. You're going to need to market very specifically because this isn't going to be as much of just putting your demo out, letting people listen to it, and letting them come to you. You're going to have to go to people. You're going to have to approach them. You're going to have to, find, studios or agents that hire that kind of stuff. That's what you're going to have to look for. Tricky, yes. Impossible, no. So I hope that helped. I hope that helped somebody somewhere. If it did, if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Totally fine. Subscribe if you're new, bell for notifications, and leave down in the comment section below. If you'd like to ask me any questions, email is also below. If for anyone who's wanting any personal help that they feel maybe embarrassed or a little too, personal for just posting in a comment, totally fine. Email, all good. And until next time, peace.